Hello, everyone, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we are going to explore together the incredible story of a devoted wife pushed to the absolute edge. Betrayed by her husband, replaced by a pregnant mistress, and forced into slavery in her own home, she refuses to be a victim. Instead, she orchestrates a silent, brilliant, and devastating revenge to reclaim her dignity and her freedom. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on our upcoming videos. Here's an expanded, deeply developed version of the story. I have woven in new dramatic plot points, explored the painful backstory of their marriage, added escalating conflicts with the mistress, and created a highly satisfying, climactic resolution to give the narrative the epic, emotional weight of a full-length feature story. Tragedy beneath the thatched roof. The vengeance of the lawful wife. The highland sky that day was a suffocating, heavy gray with leaden clouds sinking low enough to graze the ancient, gnarled plum tree in the front yard. The air was thick and oppressive, perfectly mirroring the frantic, heavy heartbeat inside Queen's chest. She stood frozen in a familiar dirt yard, a yard she had spent the last 5 years of her youth sweeping, tending, and nurturing with her own blood and sweat. 5 years. A span of time long enough to drain the vibrant, dreaming youth from a young woman, replacing it with the calloused hands, sun-beaten skin, and the permanent, weary stoop of endless labor. Quine remembered the days when this house was nothing but a dilapidated bamboo shack. She and Tien had carried every single brick from the valley below, their shoulders bruised and bleeding, to build the sturdy brick walls that now stood before her. Under this very plum tree, Tien had once wiped the sweat from her brow, kissed her dirt-smudged cheek, and promised, "We will build our kingdom here, Quine. Just you, me, and our future children." Yet, all of her sacrifices were now being rewarded with a cruel, ruthless verdict delivered by the very woman she had treated as her own mother. Mrs. Quien's mother stepped out of the house, dressed immaculately in her best silk shirt, clutching a thick stack of bright red wedding invitations. Her gaze was as sharp as a meat cleaver as she looked at Queen standing silently in the yard. Devoid of a single ounce of pity, she practically spat her words, each one landing like a heavy stone on her daughter-in-law's face. "What are you still doing here? I told you to pack your rags and leave. Get out of my sight before you curse this family with your bad luck." Quine swallowed the bitter lump of ash in her throat. Her eyes were red and swollen from nights of silent weeping. Yet she tilted her chin up in a final, desperate act of defiance. "I came back. I am waiting for the village chief and the elder to resolve this. For all these years, I have worked my fingers to the bone for this family. I fed your pigs. I worked your fields. I built this roof. If you all just chase me away now, where is my justice?" Mrs. Thu let out a harsh, mocking sneer that echoed off the brick walls. To her, justice was a worthless, modern concept if a woman couldn't perform her most basic biological duty. Justice? What justice? You are a barren tree. You can't give birth. I let you eat my rice for 5 years, and my ancestors still have no heir. Now my son Tien has finally brought home a woman who knows how to be a real wife. Her belly is already growing. I'm going out right now to invite the whole village to their wedding. Everything in this house belongs to me, and you aren't getting a single grain of rice." Every word swung like a sledgehammer against Queen's bleeding heart. For 5 grueling years, she had choked down countless bitter, foul-smelling herbal remedies. She had knelt on cold stone floors at every temple within 100 miles, begging the gods for a child. But fate had been unspeakably cruel. Her womb remained empty. And while she suffered in agonizing silence, Tien, the husband who had sworn eternal love, had blatantly cheated, bringing home a pregnant mistress named Lan. To add the ultimate insult, her in-laws weren't just condoning his betrayal, they were actively celebrating it, gleefully preparing to welcome this second wife into the house, completely trampling over Quinn's legal marriage certificate. Quine stood there, her fragile silhouette trembling in the cold highland wind. "I am staying right here to wait for the village chief. The law recognizes me as the wife. I'm not going anywhere." By early afternoon, heavy footsteps echoed from the dirt path. The village chief and a highly respected village elder arrived, their faces grim. Their presence ignited a faint, fragile flicker of hope in Queen's dull eyes. She hurried to pour water and brew tea, inviting the two representatives of village justice to sit at the rustic wooden table. The tension in the living room was suffocating. Tien, revealing his true nature as a cowardly, spineless man, shrank back into the shadows of the doorway, allowing his mother to do the talking. Lan, the pregnant mistress, sat in the best chair in the house, gently rubbing her slight bump with a smug, victorious smile playing on her lips. When the village chief cleared his throat, opening the discussion with the ironclad logic of the law, the atmosphere grew incredibly hostile. "I received a report from Quine," the chief said sternly, tapping his pen against his notebook. "Tien and Quine have been legally married for 5 years. Now, Tien has brought in another pregnant woman home and intends to host a public wedding. This is a severe violation of the law. The law on marriage and family clearly dictates monogamy. What Tien is doing is entirely illegal, morally corrupt, and tears apart the fabric of our community." "Mrs. Wei." Doi immediately jumped up, waving her hands dismissively as if to swat the legal arguments away like annoying flies. She raised her voice, wielding the archaic patriarchal logic of the old village. "We know your city laws, but my daughter-in-law hasn't given birth in 5 years. Are we supposed to let the family line die out? We desperately need a grandson. Now that Tien has brought home Lan, who's already carrying my grandson, we agree to take her in. Since Queen is a broken pot, we have no choice but to throw her out. What you are doing goes against basic human decency." The chief slammed his hand on the table, infuriated by Mrs. Tui's stubborn arrogance. "She is a human being, not a piece of farm equipment you discard when it stops working." The village elder, a man revered for his calm wisdom, furrowed his white brows. He looked at Tien, who refused to make eye contact, and let out a long, heavy sigh. "Years ago, Tien, you begged to hold a proper wedding to bring Queen here. Now, you want to chase her away just to bring in someone else. The law doesn't allow it. Quine has a legal marriage certificate. You cannot just throw her out into the cold." Yet, all the logic and legal threats seemed unable to pierce the fortress of the family's ignorance and their desperate, selfish desire for a male heir. Mrs. Du adamantly refused to divide any property, refused to send Lan away, and insisted on holding the wedding. It was a complete, maddening deadlock. Finally, buckling under the threat of having the district police involved, Tien's family offered a twisted, venomous compromise. Quine would be allowed to stay in the house. But this was no salvation. It was the beginning of a meticulously calculated living hell, designed to break her spirit and force her to leave on her own accord. The moment the village chief and the elder walked out the wooden gate, the family's attitude violently snapped back to overt cruelty. Quine was allowed to stay, yes, but she was immediately downgraded from the lady of the house to an unpaid, despised slave. The very next morning, while thick, freezing fog still blanketed the highland, Quine was jolted awake by Mrs. Thui's shrill screaming and the sensation of icy water being thrown onto her blanket. "Get up, you lazy parasite. Go cook the pig slop and clean the pens. Did you think using the village chief to stay here meant you could just sit around and eat my rice for free? Get to work." Quine bit her lip until it bled, silently pulling on a tattered jacket, and carried a heavy bucket of thick slop to the backyard. The putrid stench of the pigpen assaulted her senses. Suddenly, her foot slipped on the wet, manure-covered concrete. Quine crashed hard onto the ground, her knees slamming against the floor, instantly drawing blood. As she lay there in the filth, Lan strolled out into the yard, sipping a cup of hot ginger tea. Seeing Quine covered in mud, Lan smirked, taking a delicate sip. "Make sure you scrub that pen spotless, sister. I'm pregnant, you know." If I smell anything foul and start vomiting, Tien will feel so bad for me. Yeah. I love you, Jemmy. He might just have to beat you to teach you a lesson. I'm done. As Lan's belly grew, so did her absolute dictatorial power over the household. That unborn child was her ultimate shield, a weapon she actively used to humiliate, exploit, and psychologically torture Queen. She would intentionally drop plates on the floor just to watch Queen sweep them up. She would demand Queen wash her undergarments by hand in freezing water. One blistering afternoon, Lan decided to escalate the torment. It was time to take the family's massive water buffalo out to graze. Traditionally, this dangerous task fell to Tien. But today, Lan complained of a mild backache. Tien, panicking over his pregnant mistress, turned around and screamed at Quine. "You go herd the buffalo. My wife is pregnant. Do you want her to go out there and miscarry? Get the beast out now." Queen stared in pure terror at the massive, aggressive beast in the shed. Its horns were sharp, and it was notoriously temperamental. But this buffalo is wild. It trampled a man last year. You know I'm terrified of it. Tien's eyes bulged with rage. He grabbed a bamboo stick and pointed it inches from Queen's face. "You live under my roof. You do the work. If you don't want to work, then get the hell out. Go." With no other choice, Queen tremblingly approached the beast. Holding the rough rope, she tried to coax the massive animal forward. But the buffalo, seemingly sensing her weakness and fear, suddenly bucked and bolted down the rocky path. The rope wrapped around Queen's wrist. She was violently dragged across the jagged, rocky dirt. Her clothes tore, and her skin was ripped open, bleeding and burning as she scraped against sharp stones. She let out a desperate, piercing scream, praying Tien would come help her. But when she finally managed to untangle herself and limped back to the house, bleeding and bruised, the house was silent. Tien had long since escorted Lan back into the bedroom, locking the door to ensure her rest wasn't disturbed by the noise. The cruelty reached its absolute peak a week before the planned wedding. Exhausted, battered, and starving, Queen walked into her small, cramped storage room, the only space they allowed her to occupy. She froze. Her modest wooden trunk had been pried open. Her few meager possessions were scattered across the dirt floor. Standing in the center of the room was Lan, holding a small, intricately carved jade pendant. It was the only heirloom Queen had left from her late mother, a piece she cherished more than her own life. "What a cheap little trinket," Lan sneered, twirling the jade on its string. "I told Tien to buy me real gold for the wedding, not this old trash." "Put that down!" Queen screamed, lunging forward to grab it. "That belongs to my mother." Lan's eyes flashed with malice. Instead of handing it back, she deliberately opened her fingers. The jade fell, hitting a sharp rock on the floor and shattering into 3 distinct pieces. "Oops," Lan mocked, faking a gasp. "My fingers are just so swollen from the pregnancy. So clumsy." Queen fell to her knees, frantically gathering the broken pieces of greenstone. A primal, agonizing sob tore from her throat. Tien rushed into the room, alerted by the noise. "She tried to push me, Tien," Lan immediately wailed, clutching her belly and forcing out crocodile tears. "I just wanted to look at her necklace, and she attacked me." Without a second thought, without even looking at the broken jade in Queen's bleeding hands, Tien delivered a swift, brutal kick to Queen's shoulder, knocking her into the dirt. "You psycho bitch! If you ever touch her again, I will kill you myself. You are nothing in this house." Nothing. As Tien carried a fake sobbing Lan out of the room, Queen remained on the floor, clutching the broken jade to her chest. The physical pain from the kick was entirely eclipsed by a sudden, terrifying clarity. She had been hoping for a miracle. She had been hoping Tien would remember their past. But staring at the shattered remains of her mother's legacy, something inside Queen irrevocably snapped. The submissive, long-suffering victim within her finally died, completely consumed by the flames of absolute, cold-blooded vengeance. They wanted to treat her like dirt. She was going to bury them in it. That night, while the rest of the house slept, Quinn did not wash clothes or weep by the well. Instead, she moved like a ghost through the silent house. She slipped into the main living room and carefully picked the cheap lock on Shan's wooden desk. She knew Shan was greedy, but she needed proof. Using a small flashlight, she meticulously dug through his papers. At the bottom of a drawer, hidden beneath old receipts, she found what she was looking for. The red land use right certificate, the red book, for their property. But there was something else. Attached to it was a drafted, unnotarized contract of sale, attempting to transfer the entire property solely into Mrs. Stewie's name, complete with a forged signature of Quine's name at the bottom. They weren't just trying to bully her out. They were actively attempting to steal her legal half of the property to ensure Lam would inherit everything. Quine's hands trembled, not out of fear, but out of sheer, adrenaline-fueled rage. She carefully took out her old cracked smartphone and snapped clear, high-resolution photos of the forged documents, the land deed, and her marriage certificate. The next morning, under the guise of going to the market to buy fabric for Lan's wedding decorations, Quinn took a 2-hour bus ride down the mountain to the district cap. She didn't go to the market. She walked straight into the district women's union and a local legal aid office. She laid the photos on the desk of a seasoned female lawyer. She showed them the bruises on her arms, the scars from the buffalo, and the forged documents. The lawyer's eyes narrowed with fierce determination. "They think they are kings of their own little mountain," the lawyer said softly. "We are going to teach them exactly how the laws of this country work." A meticulous, devastating trap was set. Quine returned home that evening, perfectly playing the role of the broken, defeated wife. She scrubbed the floors. She chopped the firewood. She let them hurl their insults, absorbing every blow with a blank, hollow stare, knowing that the executioner's axe was already swinging toward their necks. The day of the wedding arrived. The house was decorated with gaudy red banners. Mrs. Dewey had slaughtered 2 pigs and dozens of chickens, inviting relatives, neighbors, and anyone who had come to witness the triumph of her new, fertile daughter-in-law. Quine was ordered to stay in the back kitchen, washing mountains of greasy pots and pans, explicitly forbidden from showing her face and ruining the aesthetic of the happy day. Loud music blared from cheap speakers. Tien, dressed in a sharp suit, proudly held Lan's hand as she waddled around in a tight red dress, heavily showing off her pregnant belly. Mrs. Stu is beaming, accepting envelopes of lucky money and loudly bragging to the guests about her incoming grandson. "Finally, our family is blessed," Mrs. Stu announced to the crowd, raising a glass of rice wine. "Out with the barren, in with the fruitful. Let us celebrate the real lady of this house." The crowd cheered. But the cheer was suddenly cut short by the sound of approaching vehicles. Not motorcycles, but heavy, official engines. 2 white police trucks pulled into the dirt yard, kicking up a cloud of dust that coated the red wedding banners. 4 uniformed police officers stepped out, accompanied by the village chief, 2 representatives from the district women's union, and a legal official carrying a thick briefcase. The music was abruptly cut off. A heavy, terrified silence fell over the wedding guests. Tien's arrogant smile instantly vanished, replaced by a pale, sickening dread. Mrs. Dewey dropped her glass of wine. It shattered on the brick floor. What is the meaning of this?" Tien stammered, stepping in front of Lan. "We are just having a family gathering." The leading police officer pulled out a megaphone. "We have received concrete evidence of severe violations of the marriage and family law, domestic abuse, and attempted property fraud." From the back of the house, Queen emerged. She had taken off her filthy apron. She had washed her face. She walked through the parted sea of shocked wedding guests with her head held high, her spine straight as a steel rod. She didn't look like a victim. She looked like an avenging angel. "Quine, you bitch! What did you do?" Mrs. Dewey shrieked, lunging forward, but a police officer quickly stepped in, raising a stern hand. The legal official opened his briefcase. Mr. Tien, you are legally married to Miss Quan. Hosting a public wedding ceremony with another woman while still married is a direct violation of the law. Furthermore, he pulled out the printed photos of the forged documents. We have evidence that you and your mother attempted to forge Ms. Queen's signature to illegally transfer marital assets. That is fraud, a criminal offense. The color completely drained from Lan's face. She clutched her belly, suddenly realizing that the wealthy, secure future she thought she had manipulated her way into was built on a foundation of illegal sand. The house and the land were built and acquired during the legal marriage, the official continued, his voice echoing over the silent crowd. It is marital property. Queen is legally entitled to exactly 50% of its current market value. Since you attempted to defraud her, the court will likely freeze all assets immediately. Tien fell to his knees, the cheap fabric of his suit tearing on the rough dirt. No, please. We don't have the money to pay her half. We spent our savings on the wedding. Quine walked slowly toward Tien. She looked down at the man who had promised her the world and then dragged her through hell. There was no love left in her eyes, nor was there any anger. There was only cold, absolute indifference. You wanted me gone, Tien, Quinn said, her voice steady and clear enough for the entire village to hear. I am leaving, but I am not leaving empty-handed. You will sell this land, or you will take out a loan, but you will pay me every single penny of my half. If you cannot pay, the bank will seize this house, and you, your mother, and your new wife can go live in the pig pen I spent the last month cleaning. Lan let out a hysterical wail, sinking into a chair, crying real tears of panic this time. Mrs. Tui began to hyperventilate, screaming at the police, screaming at Tien, her grand dreams of a proud dynasty crumbling into dust before her very eyes. The wedding guests, realizing they were witnessing a crime scene rather than a celebration, began to awkwardly slip away, whispering furiously among themselves. The legal battle that followed was swift and brutal. Faced with irrefutable evidence of domestic abuse and forgery, Tien had no leg to stand on. To avoid going to prison for fraud, Tien and Mrs. Tu were forced to sell a massive portion of their agricultural land at a heavy loss just to buy out Quinn's 50% share of the marital estate. The once proud family was financially ruined, reduced to the laughingstock of the district. Lan, realizing that Tien was now deeply in debt and facing severe legal scrutiny, packed her bags in the middle of the night and fled back to her own village, taking whatever little cash Tien had left in his wallet. On a crisp, clear morning, Quine stood at the end of the village dirt road. In her hand was a heavy bank book, the financial equivalent of her youth, her sweat, and her suffering, finally converted into her absolute freedom. She turned back to look at the house one last time. The red wedding banners hung in tatters, blowing sadly in the wind. The house looked smaller now, pathetic and decaying, housing nothing but a bitter old woman and a broken, abandoned man. Quine reached into her pocket and pulled out the 3 broken pieces of her mother's jade pendant. She had glued them back together with gold resin, leaving the scars visible. A reminder that what is broken can be put back together. Not perfectly, but stronger and more beautiful than before. She slipped the jade around her neck, turned her back on the village, and began to walk down the mountain toward the bustling city. The relentless, grinding noise of the past was finally behind her, and ahead lay nothing but the brilliant, untethered possibilities of a life reclaimed. This video follows the compelling journey of Queen, a devoted wife who steps away from a life of silent suffering to embark on a highly courageous fight for justice. Stripped of her status and forced into servitude after her husband brings home a pregnant mistress, she methodically and carefully gathers evidence of their betrayal. While her quiet endurance may look like the tragic submission of a broken woman to a casual observer, to Queen, it is a powerful shield essential for a crucial battle. She is preparing to confront the suffocating, deep-rooted cruelty of her abusive in-laws. Driven by a profound desire to reclaim her stolen dignity,